I want to show you an easy way to get started in oils. So many people never try this versatile and forgiving medium because they think it's messy and smelly. With a new generation of oil paints, it doesn't have to be that way. So let's get started straight away. This is your first project. I'd like you to do a colour wheel, starting with cadmium red light. Gradually, as we go around, mixing in theoviolet, more and more theoviolet, less and less cadmium red. This is almost all theoviolet. Then a little of the phthalo blue. Now I'm going to introduce these colours again, so don't worry about the colours for now. I'm just explaining the colour wheel. A little white in this so that we get a paler colour slightly. Phthalo blue here on its own. Gradually more and more of the phthalo green. And now there is a phthalo green down here, which is a turquoisey colour between the green and the blue. More green until here we've got actually pure phthalo green, and then the addition of some yellow. More yellow gives us less of a green in the mix. And we've got a lime green here, a very pale lime green, vivid green, round to a lemon yellow, and now I'm just finishing off. I'm applying a mixture of the yellow and the cadmium red light to come back to where we started. And the technique that I'm using is to actually overlap one colour into the next so that they blend slightly. Can you see in between the two there we've got an orange now which wasn't there before. Here we've mixed the two together. So what you're learning as well about this is to actually apply the paint. You're learning what it feels like to be an oil painter, which is quite nice actually, isn't it? Feels good. You can actually feel the texture of the paint going on. You can feel the butteriness of the paint and how easy it is to blend one colour into another. And there's our colour wheel. I want you to keep it for future reference, because we will be referring throughout the video to complementary colours. So you'll need to know which are which. And I'll just explain. A complementary colour is anything on this wheel that is opposite the colour we're talking about. Complementary colour to the yellow, for instance, is this purple down here. Complementary colour to a deep red is a green. Complementary colour to orange is blue. What I'm doing now is preparing a board for us to paint on. The cheapest possible board to practice on is straightforward cardboard. You can buy from any art shop. It's called grey board, and certainly the cheapest way to get started in oils. And what I'm painting with is something called gesso. I'm putting a product called gesso onto this cardboard, and it's really a very thick acrylic primer. You can paint on top of acrylic with oils, but you can't do it the other way around. You can't paint acrylics on top of the oils. So this is an acrylic gesso, and I've painted it all over the board. It takes about an hour to dry, but we've got plenty that I've prepared earlier to carry on with. I'm painting it very vigorously. I'm not trying to get an even texture. I'm trying to get brush strokes in it so it makes that texture for us. And that will be lovely. That will dry quite nicely. There we are. When your gesso is dry, you can rub a tint on. Watery acrylic is what I'm using at the moment. It's burnt sienna, very, very, very thin, mainly water, just to take the whiteness out. And it's important that you don't work on a white board or a white canvas early on. It's too glary, and it makes it difficult to judge your tonal values. So there we are. We can leave that to dry now. So let's have a look at mixing some blues now. We're going to do some skies as a bit of practice. I've got a French ultramarine blue here, I've got a phthalo blue there, and I've got titanium white. And initially, until you have more experience, get used to using one of these. This is a painting knife, some people call it a palette knife. Mix your colours with this and keep them separate. You see how I've done that? I've taken a little bit of the white away, and I'm going to put the French ultramarine blue in. These are the two blues we're going to use for the first sky. And you'll see the difference. One blue is a warm blue, which means it's got a lot of red in it. And the sky towards the top is always quite warm. It's a warmer colour than the sky near the horizon. And can you see how I'm mixing? I'm mixing the paint almost like spreading butter on toast. Spreading like that. If you try and stir it, you're not really doing anything. So mix the paint together until there's no streaks. Now we've got a nice, solid, pale French ultramarine. A quick wipe of the painting knife, and we'll use some more white just here, and a tiny touch of phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is very, very, very strong. You probably don't even need that much. I think I'll put a little bit of that back. Probably that much. Let's just try that. Very strong tinting colour, a totally different blue. And we'll just mix that in and see. We can always add. It's better to put too little paint into the mix to start with than too much. You can't take it out once it's in there. You can always add a bit later on. So there we are, two totally different blues. Look, one is warm, that appears to come toward you, and one is cooler, and that appears to recede into the distance. There we are, nicely mixed. And now we're ready to try our first sky. So for the first sky, I'm just going to put a horizontal layer of the French ultramarine tint across the top, dragging it down. This is a board that has already been primed in the way I've just shown you, and it's dry. It probably takes 2 to 3 hours, to be on the safe side, to let this dry properly. Otherwise the oil paint may not stick. So let your underpainting and your gesso dry thoroughly before you do this. See, I'm dragging the paint down. I'm dragging all of this paint off the brush, and you can see some of the texture left from the underpainting showing through. It's a slightly darker orange than the one I prepared earlier, but it's working there quite well. Now I'm going to take a little of the colder blue, the cooler, paler blue, and mix the two together and add that. So I'm grading the colour down. You'll see the difference. There we are, putting that on, and again pulling it down so that it comes off the brush nicely, and we're left with just a little of the texture and the underpainted colour showing through to give it a little bit of a sparkle. This is the simplest sky to do, and if you do one colour, one plain blue sky, it doesn't recede, it doesn't go down towards the horizon like it should. Skies get pale towards the horizon, and the blue is always cooler. Next time you go out on a sunny day, just look above you and see the colour of the sky, then look towards the horizon and notice the difference. So what it's all about really is looking and observing these differences. Can you see I'm just laying in the different colours and sort of cross-hatching, moving the brush diagonally back and forth just to blend in the last little bit. And now I'm using almost full strength cool blue, if you see what I mean. The pale blue that I made with the phthalo, which is a very strong and very cold blue, and maybe even just a little touch of white along the bottom to really fade that away into the distance. Now at this point, if you decide, well, my blue near the horizon is not pale enough, just take a little bit of white. The nice thing about oils is it's very forgiving and very versatile, so we put a little blob of white on and brush it in, and you can continue to do that until you get the desired effect. So let's make that bottom area paler. Just put the white straight onto the board. Don't need to pre-mix it if you're doing this. This is actually making the colour recede even more. The sky is now going right back into the distance. There we are. Every sky needs a horizon to work against, and what I've actually done here is just mixed a bit of the blue that was made originally for the top of the sky with a little purple, and we just brush that in. And again, if you want to get the effect of distance, just add some white into all of your distant objects, make them very pale, so this can be faded away to nothing. There we are, we just put a little hill going up and just a hint of something happening.